Everyone's paying for Netflix and completely sleeping on the streaming service that's quietly making the best sci-fi on television. Apple TV Plus has fewer shows, but pound for pound, it's destroying everyone. Here are 10 that prove it. And look, I get it. Apple TV Plus doesn't have the library. You can't scroll for 40 minutes and land on something comforting you've already half-watched before. That's not what it is. What it is a platform that takes a small number of swings, and almost every single one connects, especially in science fiction, especially right now. So if you've been paying your monthly Netflix fee and treating Apple like a free trial you keep forgetting to cancel, this video is going to change how you think about your streaming stack. These are 10 shows, all Apple originals, all still on the platform. And by the time we get to number 1, you're going to understand why this is the most underrated service in the game. Picture a 1950s America where the flying cars actually flew, where the shining future they promised in every magazine ad and World's Fair pavilion actually arrived, and turned out to be just as hollow as every other promise. That is Hello Tomorrow, and it is one of the most visually distinctive pieces of television Apple has made. Billy Crudup plays Jack Billings, a traveling salesman with a perfect smile and a product that sounds insane. Lunar timeshares, condominiums, on the moon. He goes town to town pitching it with such absolute conviction that people reach for their checkbooks before they've thought it through. What's underneath the chrome and neon is a story about the lie we tell ourselves when the present is too painful to live in. Jack is selling a dream because he needs the dream as much as anyone buying it. Crudup holds that contradiction without flinching, and the result is a character you root for even when you know exactly what he is. It was canceled after 1 season. That is a genuine loss. But what it left behind is worth every minute. Kyoto, rain, a woman sitting in an apartment that used to have a husband and a son in it and now has neither. That is where Sunny begins, and from that grief it builds something deeply, specifically strange. Sunny. Rashida Jones plays an American woman living in Japan whose family vanishes in a plane crash. And in the aftermath, a domestic robot shows up at her door, built by her husband's company, sent apparently as a gift. She names it Sunny. She resents it immediately and completely, and then slowly she doesn't. What the show holds on to, what it refuses to let go of even when the conspiracy underneath starts pulling it in darker directions, is the texture of that grief. The way it makes you suspicious of kindness. The way it makes you need things you're ashamed of needing. Japan is rendered with a specificity that makes you feel the city rather than just see it. And the tonal balance, dark, funny, melancholy, sometimes all three inside 90 seconds, is the kind of thing most shows attempt and almost none pull off. Rashida Jones has never been better. This one didn't get the conversation it deserved, and that's exactly why it's on this list. What if you made it home, survived the accident, got on the rescue ship, landed safely, and home was wrong? That is the central terror of Constellation, and the show earns it slowly and without mercy. Noomi Rapace plays an astronaut who returns from a catastrophic incident aboard the International Space Station. She is alive, she is back, and something is wrong. Her daughter seems like a different child. Her husband is the same but isn't quite. The apartment is her apartment and also isn't. Nothing she can point to, nothing she can prove. Just this persistent, nauseating wrongness underneath the surface of a life that looks exactly like her life. The show draws on real quantum physics, the many worlds interpretation, the idea that every possible outcome of every event exists somewhere. And it deploys that science not as exposition, but as dread. Rapace carries the entire weight of the show on the question of whether we believe her, and she makes that question feel honestly open far longer than you'd expect. This is the kind of show that follows you out of the room when you turn it off. Number 7 might be the funniest sci-fi show in years, and it almost defies description. Murderbot is based on Martha Wells' beloved novella series. Alexander Skarsgård plays a security android, called a secunit, that has quietly hacked its own governor module, meaning it is technically free, but hasn't told anyone. What does it do with that freedom? It watches television serials, obsessively. It wants to be left alone to consume its shows, and avoid having feelings, but it keeps getting assigned to protect humans who insist on getting into dangerous situations. The brilliance of Murderbot is that it's a character study about a being that desperately does not want to be known. And the more it helps people, the more it is known, and the more that terrifies it. The comedy lives in Skarsgård's deadpan internal monologue, voiceover used the way it should be used, to reveal a character whose exterior gives nothing away. Warm, sharp, and deeply specific, it should be much bigger than it is. Here is a question the alien invasion genre almost never asks. What does it feel like to be a regular person on the day the world ends? Not a soldier with classified intel, not a scientist who saw it coming, just a teacher in rural England trying to get her kids home safely. A sheriff in Oklahoma who doesn't know if what he's seeing is real. Invasion scatters its story across ordinary lives on different continents and watches how an event of incomprehensible scale lands differently in each one. The aliens are barely shown. The destruction reaches most people the way real catastrophe does, through rumors and failing signals and the faces of people who've seen something they can't describe. That choice is a deliberate provocation. This show is not going to give you the spectacle. It is going to give you the fear underneath it. The human terror of not knowing, of being small, of loving people you cannot reach. If you sit with it, Invasion becomes one of the most emotionally honest things the genre has produced. It is not trying to be fast. It is trying to be true to what that experience would actually feel like. One night, a walk home, and then everything is wrong in a way that takes most of the first episode to even understand. Dark Matter is based on Blake Crouch's novel, and it is a multiverse thriller that actually works. Rarer than it sounds, because the multiverse concept has been done to death and usually delivers spectacle without stakes. This show puts the stakes first. Joel Edgerton plays a physicist who is abducted and wakes up in a version of his life where he made different choices, where he chased ambition instead of family, became brilliant and successful and completely alone. His name is on the door. People know him. But his wife doesn't exist here the way she exists to him, and his son doesn't exist at all. From there it becomes a chase, a man navigating infinite corridors of lives that almost were, looking for the one specific thread of reality where the people he loves are waiting. What Crouch understood, and what the show preserves, is that the scariest thing about the multiverse is not the scale. It is the regret. Every wrong door opens onto a version of yourself asking what if. Put this on Friday night. Surface Sunday, slightly dazed. Most science fiction asks what happens when technology changes. Foundation asks something harder. What happens when civilization itself starts to die, and the only person who knows cannot stop it, only shorten the suffering? Isaac Asimov's novel series was considered unfilmable for most of cinema's history. Apple took that bet anyway, and what they've built is the most ambitious sci-fi television in years. Hari Seldon has developed psychohistory, a science of predicting the broad arc of human behavior, and what it tells him is that the galactic empire is falling. Not in crisis, falling. 10,000 years of dark age are coming and nothing stops them. What he can do is cut that suffering from 10,000 years to one. That mission, carried across generations and centuries, is what gives the show its unexpected emotional weight. Meanwhile, the empire is embodied by three clones of the same emperor. Different ages, different temperaments, the same slow rot. And watching power corrupt across a lifespan, and then another lifespan, and then another, is quietly devastating. Foundation trusts you to keep up. Give it that trust. It earns it completely. There is one rule. You do not ask about the outside. 10,000 people live in an underground silo, hundreds of floors deep, each level its own social stratum, its own culture, its own version of normal. And the thing that holds all of it together is the agreement not to ask what is out there beyond the walls. On the monitors, they can see the surface. Bleak, toxic, gray. Everyone who has ever been sent outside as punishment has walked a few hundred feet and died. That is the proof. That is the answer. Except Rebecca Ferguson's character starts pulling on a thread, and the show, patient, meticulous, merciless, lets her pull. What Silo understands is that the real mystery is not what's outside. It is what the people in power are willing to do to make sure you never find out. Every revelation shifts the ground beneath you. Every answer opens two more questions. And Ferguson anchors all of it with a performance so grounded and so specific that the world, as strange as it is, never stops feeling real. This is the show you describe to someone in a hallway and watch them pull out their phone to download the app before you finish talking. There is prestige television, and then there is Severance. At number 2, this is the show that put Apple TV Plus on the cultural map, and it deserved every single conversation it started. The premise is that a corporation has developed a surgical procedure called Severance, which splits a worker's consciousness into two complete selves, one that exists only at work and one that exists only outside of it. The work self, called an innie, has no memory of home, of family, of childhood, of anything. It wakes up in the elevator every morning and goes to work, and then ceases to exist when the elevator doors open again at the end of the day. The show asks what that does to a person, and it asks it with such patience and precision that it becomes deeply disturbing. Adam Scott, Britt Lower, Patricia Arquette, John Turturro, everyone is working at the top of their game. The Office is terrifying in the way offices are sometimes actually terrifying. The mystery deepens in a way that never feels cheap. Severance is one of the best television shows made in the last decade. On any platform, full stop. At number 1, the single best reason to open your wallet for Apple TV Plus right now is Pluribus. This is Vince Gilligan's first project since Better Call Saul, and it announced itself immediately as a landmark. The premise, a contagious neurological condition is spreading, one that produces a state of profound, lasting happiness in everyone it infects. And there is one woman who is immune. What that immunity costs her, in a world rapidly, willingly surrendering itself to joy, is the entire moral weight of the show. Pluribus holds a 99% critics score. It swept the 2026 awards cycle. It is the show critics spent the back half of last year searching for the right words to describe. Gilligan writes character the way almost no one else does. Slowly, specifically, with a patience that makes the payoffs feel earned in a way that is almost physical. This is not a show that explains itself to you. It waits for you to arrive. It is extraordinary. It is only on Apple TV Plus, and it is exactly the point of everything on this list. You're paying for Netflix and missing all of this. 10 shows, 0 filler, every single one an Apple original, none of them going anywhere. And that's the thing that stays with me about what Apple has quietly built here. They don't need volume. They don't need to flood the algorithm and hope something sticks. They made a smaller bet on quality, and they've been proven right again and again by the audience that found these shows and couldn't stop talking about them. That audience is growing. The question is whether you're already in it or whether you're still scrolling through 10,000 options and watching nothing. If any of these shows made you think, okay, tonight, hit subscribe, because next time I'm cracking open what Netflix is actively burying inside its own library. The good sci-fi they don't want you to find. That one's coming soon, and it's going to surprise you.